Hello, I'm back again. Happy to show up. Hello, everybody. Today I'm gonna talk about chapter 1 as I promised before. Last time I talked about the people of the play or in the novel. Today I'm gonna start the chapters, the novel, chapter by chapter. So, chapter 1 is gonna be the first one. Chapter 1 is going to talk about Akonko, his father Anoka, and some other people. Akonko was well known throughout the 9 villages and even beyond. His fame rested on solid personal achievements. Akonko was well known, means was famous. Everybody knows him, not only in his village but by surrounding villages. يعني معروف حتى من المناطق المجاورة. As a young man of 18, he had brought honor to his village by throwing Malinzo the cat. Malinzo was a great wrestler who for 7 years was unbeaten from Amovia to Mabino. One of the greatest things has done was throwing or beating or defeating Malinzo, the one who was called the cat. Why did they call him the cat? Because nobody has beaten him or nobody has thrown him down during 7 years. خلال 7 سنوات ما في أي حدا قدر إنه يسيطر عليه أو يرميه في الأرض. He was called the cat because his back would never touch the earth. It was this man that Okonkwo threw in a fight which the old men agreed was one of the fiercest since the founder of their own town. So all the people agreed that the longest fight since the founder or since the establishment of our area. يعني منذ نشأة المنطقة أو قيام المنطقة، يعني ده بيعتبر أشرس match. The drums beat and the flute sang and the spectators held their breath. Malinzo was Wales craftsman, but Okonko was as slippery as fish in the water. يعني كان حدث كبير. drums beat and flutes sang، يعني الطبول drums والفلوتس اللي هي المزامير sang. spectators held their breath، المشاهدين يعني أي واحد ماسك على نفسه. then Amalinzo was wily, he was deceptive، كان مخادع. but Akonko was a slippery as fish. لكن أكونكو كان شخص يعني أملس مثل الفيش. Every nerve and every muscle stood out on their arms, on their backs and their thighs, and one almost hit them, stretching to breaking point. In the end, Okonko threw the cat. كل عضلة، كل muscle، كل عضلة كانت standing. كان very strong fighting. At the end, Okonko threw the cat. في النهاية أكونكو استطاع إنه إيه يطيح بأمالينزو في الأرض. When he walked, means Akonko, when he walked, his heels hardly touched the ground, and he seemed to walk on springs, as if he was going on to bounce on somebody. And he did bounce on people quite often. He had a slight stammer, and whenever he was angry and could not get his words out quickly enough, he would use his fists. When Akonko walks, لما هو يمشي, as if his heels would not touch the earth. يعني أقدامه كأنه ما بتلمس الأرض. هذه مشية قوة ومشية proudness. فخر. And also as if he is going to bounce over somebody, كأنه هو هيقفز في شخص. And he did bounce on people quite often. وبالضبط هو عمل bouncing على ناس كثير يعني. He had a slight stammer, and whenever he was angry and could not get his words out quickly enough, he would use his fists. يعني لما خلاص مع الغضب مع الأنجر, whenever he could not get his words out, يعني ما يقدر يطلع الكلام خلاص مع الغضب, he would use his fists. fist يعني الكفين. يستخدم his hands يعني to what? To express himself. So he uses his hands just when he's angry. He doesn't use his tongue. Anoka, for that was his father's name. فوالده كان اسمه Anoka, had died 10 years ago. In his day, he was lazy and improvident and was quite capable about thinking about tomorrow. He was very lazy. He was improvident. Okay, spendthrift. If any money came his way, and it seldom did, he immediately bought a gourd of palm wine, called round his neighbors, and made merry. لو تحصل على أي money على طول بيدعوا أصدقائه والجيران لإيه؟ خمر، شراب. and he seldom did. هو نادر من النادر إنه يتحصل عليه money، لكن لو يتحصل على طول إيه؟ اليوم ده بيكون في party، في drinking. He was very good on his flute, and his happiest moments were 2 or 3 moons after the harvest, when the village musicians brought down their instruments, hung above the fireplace. أسعد لحظاته were the 2 or 3 moons after the harvest، يعني 2 أو 3 أشهر بعد إيه؟ الهارفست اللي هو الحصاد. When the village musicians brought down their instruments، لما الميوزيشنز خلاص بعد الحصاد كل الناس بتطلع الأدوات الموسيقية وبيكون احتفالات and so on. Above the fireplace, Anoka would play with them, his face beaming with blessedness and peace. في اللحظات دي بيكون his face blessed, very happy, okay, and lives in peace. That was years ago. الكلام ده كله قبل سنوات. That was years ago when he was young. لما كان في فترة إيه؟ اليوث، فترة الشباب. Anoka, the grown up, was failure. لكن الأنوكا بعد ما كبر was failure، كان فاشل. He was poor, and his wife and children had barely enough to eat. It means they hardly, his wife and children hardly get what they eat. من الصعب أو بصعوبة إنه يتحصل على أشياء to eat, his wife and his children. People laughed at him because he was a loafer, and they swore never to lend him any more money because he never paid back. Sometimes people laughed at him. They look at him and laugh. They يضحكوا. And they swear they don't want to give him money. Why? Because he doesn't pay back. But Enoch was such a man that he always succeeded in borrowing more and filling up his debts. لكن هو من الأشخاص اللي has very strong tongue, sharp tongue. Whenever he talks to somebody, he immediately persuades him and gets what he needs. يعني لما يتكلم مع أي حدا خلاص بيقنعه على طول، بياخد اللي عايزه يعني. When a neighbor called Okoy came in to see him. في يوم من الأيام جاره اسمه أوكوي جاء زيارة في البيت. Okoy was also a musician. He played on Ojin, but he wasn't a failure like Onoka. He had a large barn full of yams, and he had 3 wives. لكن Okoy هذا is not like Onoka. Although they both of them play music, but Okoi was not like Onoka. Why? Because as I mentioned before, Onoka was failure, but Okoi is very strong, and also he is rich, or had many titles. He had a large barn full of yams. Yams means potatoes, and عنده large barn or store full of yams, full of potato. عنده مخزن مليء بالحصاد والpotatoes and so on. He had 3 wives, وفي نفس اللحظة had 3 wives. At the same time, Anoka had only 1 wife, and now he was going to take the Edinburgh title, the 3rd highest in the land. والآن هو هياخد واحدة من أعلى الأوسمة في البلاد اللي هو اسمها Edinburgh. It was very expensive ceremony, and he was gathering all his resources together. That was in fact the reason why he had come to see Noka. He cleared his throat and began. السبب الرئيسي اللي خلاه يجي زيارة لأنوكا because he had ceremony, and this ceremony was very expensive. يعني الاحتفال ده غالي جدا مكلف. لذلك he came to Anoka لأنه هو he would like to get back his money. He owed Anoka some money, so he would like to get it back. Then he cleared his throat and began. To clear his throat means to be ready to talk to some people. For example, then he started. Thank you for the call. You may have heard of the title I intended to take shortly. قال أشكرك بمناسبة الشراب. وربما تكون heard سمعت about the title I'm going to take shortly. اللي أنال وسام قريب. In short, Okoi was asking Anoka to return the 200 cowries he had borrowed from him more than 2 years before. باختصار, in short, Anoka, the reason that Anoka came to Ekonko was to return his money, his 100 or 200 cowries. As soon as Anoka understood what his friend was driving at, he burst out laughing. He laughed loud and long, and his voice rang out clear as the ocean, and tears stood his eyes. His visitor was amazed and sat speechless. At the end, Anoka was able to give an answer between fresh outburst of mirth. لما أنوكا خلاص فهم إنه صديقه جاء عشان يستعيد money of his that he owed Onoka before, he laughed loudly. Burst means break out, laughing. انفجر بالضحك, laughing. Okay, like ocean, مثل ocean, صوت الآلة الموسيقية ocean, صوت عالي جدا. At the end, Onoka was able to give an answer between fresh outburst of mirth. بعد ما خلاص خلص الضحك, was able to give an answer. So what did he say? Look at that wall, he said. قال انظر إلى تلك الوال, عين للحيطة هذه. He said, pointing at the far wall of his hut, which was wrapped with red earth so that it shone. كانت مدهونة red earth عشان تكون واضحة لأي حد. Look at those lines of chalk. And Okayo saw groups of perpendicular lines drawn in chalk. Anoka لما نظر, he saw a group of straight, perpendicular or straight lines, or vertical lines, خطوط مستقيمة. So what happened? There were 5 groups, and the smallest group had 10 lines. 5 lines or 5 groups of lines. Each group has 10 lines. Anoka had the sense of the dramatic, and so he allowed a pause. عنده روح الفكاهة أنوكا طبعا, يحب الضحك and so on. in which he took a pinch of snuff and sneezed noisily, and then he continued. بعد ما أخذ نفسه and then also he sneezed يعني عطسة بصوت عالي, and then continued استمر. بدأ يشرح. Each group there represents a debt to someone, and each stroke means line is 100 calories. You see, I owe that man 1,000 calories, but he has not come to wake me up in the morning for it. I shall pay you, but not today. Our elders say that the sun will shine on those who stand before it, shines on those who kneel under them. I shall pay my big debts first. هنوجا قال للشخص انه انا عارف اني I owe you money, انا مدين ب money, لكن ما بدفع لك الان لانه شايف الخطوط هذه strokes and 100 cover, يعني في ناس كثيره بدها فلوس وكلها مكتوبة على الحيطة. He said I shall pay but not today because other owed him more than thousands. So he said I shall pay my big debts first. يعني أول شيء أنا بدفع الديون الكبيرة. أنت فلوسك يعني كلها فتات يعني. You see, في مقولة بتقول عندهم بيقول يعني our elders say that the sun will shine on those who stand before it, shines on those who kneel under them. يعني الشمس كأنه يقول الشمس تشرق على الشخص اللي يكون واقف مش على الشخص اللي قاعد, أو الشخص اللي واقف قبل الشخص اللي قاعد, معناه الأعلى ثم الأقل. I shall pay you. Then when Anoka died, he had taken no title at all and he was heavily in debt. And I wonder يعني when Anoka died بعد ما مات, he's taken no title, ما عنده أي إنجاز, ما عنده أي لقب, ما عنده أي وسام إنجاز أو كذا, ومات هو مديون, heavily in debt. Any wonder then that his son اكونكو was ashamed of him. ما في أي تساؤل يعني إنه اكونكو إنه كان خجلان من والده. Fortunately, لحسن الحظ, among these people a man was judged according to his works, not according to the works of his father. لكن لحسن الحظ إنه الناس بتقيم الشخص حسب إنجازاته مش حسب إنجازات والده. Okonko was clearly cut out for great things. He was still young, but he had won fame as the greatest wrestler in the 9 villages. وكونكو لحسن الحظ إنه نال لقب أفضل مصارع في المنطقة كلها. Then he was a wealthy farmer and had 2 barns full of yams and had just married his 3rd wife. وأيضا واحدة من الإنجازات إنه هو wealthy rich man and had 2 barns full of yams, عنده 2 stores مخازن, 2 stores full of yam, full of potatoes and full of many things, and also had 3 wives. أيضا according to them, the one who had 1 wife is weak, and the one who had 3 wives was very strong man and should be talked about anywhere. To crown it all, he had taken 2 titles and had shown incredible prowess in 2 intertribal wars. يتم تتويج الحاجات دي كلها, to crown it, عشان يتم تتويج الإنجازات دي كلها, he had taken 2 titles, عنده 2 titles, لقبين أو وسامين, and had shown incredible prowess, يعني قوة خارقة, very strong man in 2 intertribal wars, في 2 من الحروب القبلية. And so, although Okonko was still young, he was already one of the greatest men of his time. مع أنه هو لسه ما زال صغير في السن، لكن أصبح واحد من أعظم المن in his time في زمنه. Age was respected among his people, but achievement was revered. يعني الأعمار أوكي يتم تقييم الناس اللي بتكون كبيرة في السن، لكن التقييم الأكثر بيجي من إيه؟ من الأتشيفمنت حسب إنجازاتك. wrestler, warrior and so on. As the elders said, if a child washed his hands, he could eat with kings. Okonko had clearly washed his hands, and so he ate with kings and elders. الناس الكبار بيقولوا الشخص لما يغسل يده ممكن ياكل مع الملوك. معناها انه لو انت مكانتك عالية او عندك انجازات ممكن يحترموك الشيوخ قبل الاطفال. And Okonko did. And that was how he came to look after the doomed lad who sacrificed to the village of Omofia by their neighbors to avoid war and bloodshed. وده السبب اللي خلى الناس كلها تصوت لأنه أوكونكو يستلم الشاب أو البوي اللي هما في مشكلة بينهم وبين قبيلة ثانية. عشان يوقفوا المشاكل لازم القبيلة الثانية تدفع شاب لقبيلة أوكونكو، فدفعت لهم شاب كتضحية. فالشاب هذا اتفق كله انه يعيش مع اكونكو عشان يقوم شجاعا. So the ill-fated lad was called ايكونفنا. كان الضحية يسمى ايكونفنا. That's all about chapter 1. It was all about Akonko and his father and some people like Ikonfina, and I will talk about chapter 2. I hope you enjoy one of the most interesting novels, which is things fall apart, and then try to follow me and finish the whole novel or the whole story together. Then see you.